A few days ago, I received a comment from John KPCHR5341. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it. And the comment asked me to address a couple of things that are frequent topics on Life's Potluck Buffet, and that's etymology and a kind of comparative method, as it might be called, about language and the roots of, well, everything. And so today I'm going to talk about my kind of general approach to this and the pitfalls that have been set out there by these various methods over the centuries. And of course, what that means for Life's Potluck Buffet. And as usual, I will draw a card to see what advice the cards have about all of this. I'm John Paulus. You're listening to Life's Potluck Buffet only on YouTube. If you've been enjoying Life's Potluck Buffet, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you have a Brave browser, you can now contribute basic attention tokens to Life's Potluck Buffet on YouTube. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening. So let me just point something out about, well, what the issue is here. And the big issue that I'm going to be addressing is the problem with one outside of time and place. So in a sense, the problem of general versus specific, of ahistorical versus historical. And in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of similar to what I was talking about on the episode that addressed seeing numbers everywhere and trying to fit the whole world into that equation, or to a set of numbers, or to a shape, or to a single thing. So the whole thing about the Fibonacci numbers, where if you look in nature, yeah, you're going to find Fibonacci numbers, but you're also going to find lots of non-Fibonacci numbers, which actually end up being more interesting, at least to me. And that's really what informs my approach, is that it is the outlier, the unexpected, the surprise that is of interest. But the good news is that that's what the world is like. The world is full of surprises, despite our human attempts to make it not full of surprises for, I guess, our own sake and sanity. But this all boils down to the issue of one. And that is that there is no one. That's something that, like the Fibonacci numbers, that's a number that got imposed upon languages and the humans that speak the languages, and that's when things became problematic. And that was done in the 18th and 19th centuries in Western Europe in the name of something called science in English, something that would be predictable, regular, less haphazard. And that was the goal of 19th century etymology, of figures like Walter Skeat, who in the very introduction to his etymological dictionary says that this is going to be more scientific than before. And what he seems to mean by that is that it's going to be regularized. And this is, again, where we run into the problem of the tension between the haphazard and multiple nature of reality, both as we experience and perceive it, and also when we try to test reality, we also find the same thing is true, as with the case of the sunflower seed heads. And there are many different types of numbers that they appear in, and the trying to make everything into one simple rule, which is funny because when you think about spammy and scammy kind of claims that get made, they often start with one simple rule to, well, do anything and everything that you want to do. So we should be aware of that, because when there is an attempt to create a oneness out of multiple things, rather than holding up the multiplicity, the manyness of things as the, well, thing we should be looking at. And this is what happened with both languages, and this affected how we looked at etymologies, because in the 19th century, the search for the, what in German is called Ursprache, or primal language, that is behind all languages, or behind a family of languages, or finding a family of languages and having a family tree for languages that could be regular, and this is an important word in English, scientific, became an obsession, an unhealthy obsession. And this was true in places outside of Germany. It's just that in terms of language, the German school of basically the rule of sound change being the one rule that would never lead you astray and could be applied perfectly and consistently, like a mathematical formula, again and again to language, until you reconstructed a proto-language that from which a whole family of languages were truly descended. That's where the trouble began. Because you see, in antiquity, the idea of etymology, which, well, let me get to the etymology of etymology. The etymology of etymology and of the important part is the etymos, which is the one Greek word. Now, this is one Greek word for true. So this is an account of the true origins of words, and it became to be used that way in what was for Greek and Latin speakers who were operating in what was then the Roman Empire would think of as, well, philosophical, scientific knowledge, truth. But the truths they were interested in were philosophical, political, spiritual. So when looking for those truths in words, you don't get the same results, because what you're looking for is different. And when you look for it, you're going to find it. But the scientific approach of the 19th century was doing the same thing, just with different terms and a different goal in mind. So when Walter Skeet said, what I'm doing here is more scientific, what he meant was more scientific than dictionaries had been, in the sense of regularizing the etymologies of things and not having such a scattered approach. And that is a view of science, and part of science, where both predictability and consistency are essential, because that makes it, in the end, a repeatable thing. That's where that approach comes in. And elsewhere in the world of the study of languages and the roots of words, that's where that approach goes wrong. And that's when you try to reconstruct proto-languages and claim that these are anything more than abstractions, maybe helpful abstractions for people interested in, say, showing sound changes. But even if we take the 19th century German rule that the sound changes are never going to lead us astray, it must be remembered that it has been shown many times over that sound changes have to happen at the same time and the same place for them to be regular. And here's the problem. When we're looking for the Ursprache, or a proto-language of any type, we create abstractions that are outside of time and place. which means they are ahistorical abstractions that have no connection to historical realities, or perhaps glancing connections, or even worse, we just don't know what their connection to that historical reality was. And getting at it becomes impossible because we've lost the details and we've lost the multiplicity in favor of having one. And this is the same thing is true with new computational linguistics, especially when applied to historical circumstances, because the same rule applies. So you have to kind of strip things down in order for the computations to work. And so you're going to end up with something that does not resemble reality in any time or any place. And then when you're interpreting that, then you're interpreting a phantom, a ghost. It comes back to looking for Fibonacci numbers everywhere. Once you do that, then you lose all of the thread of the diversity of nature and focus on some oneness or singularity, which in the end ends up resembling no reality. And what you've created in a linguistic sense is an artificial language, which then obeys all of the same rules as any artificial language. And one of those important rules, and this is another pitfall, is that the language is going to resemble what I call the heart language, or some people might call the first language or native language of the speakers who are creating the artificial language. And that means that you're always going to see some slippage there where examples are turned to and rules that apply to the language that the person speaks are then all of a sudden going to start to creep into the new artificial language that supposedly is not the same thing as that language. And that's why, for me, the surprise is the fun part. For example, that it may be that the word song and the ancient Greek word omphe, even though they don't sound anything alike to our ear, with certain sound changes apply, turn out to be probably from the same word. And that's also why it's more interesting to me that the word for one in ancient Greek and English come from different root words of different times and places, probably, which is a lot more interesting and closer to the reality of things than saying that they descend from that one single artificial language that no one ever spoke. Sticking with today's theme of one, let's choose one card from the Life's Potluck Buffet deck to see what advice it has for us today. So here we go. Yellow lemons, blue dumplings, magenta noodles. Cards, tell us somethings. Oh, how do you like that? It's the wild card that asks you to describe a logo that comes to mind. Well, wouldn't you know it? The word we didn't talk about today, logos, which is one of the words in ancient Greek for word, though there are others, as you might expect from today's episode. But the wild card said, describe a logo that comes to mind, and whether you love it, hate it, or just happen to think about it, there's a reason why it came to mind. So give that a thought today. Whatever logo pops to mind, think about what that means for your day and what that means for what you need to do. And I'll see you tomorrow on Life's Potluck Buffet.